Welcome to the Horizon podcast, ladies. I know that we're some amazing women over 40, and we're here to reclaim our health and rock your fitness and rewrite the rules of aging. That's what we all want. Because let's face it, the world throws us a lot after 40. From hormonal shifts to changing bodies, juggling careers and families, it's easy to feel like we're just trying to keep our heads above water. But here's the thing, we are not invisible. We are strong, we are resilient, and we're capable of creating incredible lives in our health and in our wellness. So I want to welcome you to the Horizon podcast. And this podcast is your one-stop shop for all things health when it relates to your body, your mindset, and fitness for women over 40. I'm your host, Michelle Hayes. And as your nutrition, health, and women's fitness coach, let's be honest, sometimes I feel that I am on a roller coaster with you guys as well. You know, we all go through the same things. Hot flashes, check. Brain fog, check. You bet. And, you know, it's so much for us. But you know what? We're still going and we're strong. So I'm so happy that you've joined me today. You join me this week, and I hope that you will join me each week as I chat with inspiring guests, debunk myths, and share some practical tips to help you as we navigate the hormonal roller coaster when it comes to health, weight loss, mindset shifts. We're going to talk about perimenopause, menopause, everything in between, so you can clearly understand what's going on with your body and make some informed choices. We're going to talk about building on self-love to build the body you love. Forget fad diets and restrictive exercise routines. We'll focus on sustainable strategies that work with your body, not against it. We're going to talk about the mindset shift where we have to silence that inner critic. We'll tackle those limiting beliefs and negative self-talk so we can show up for ourselves with confidence, with clarity in all aspects of our lives. That's going to lead us to own our own life. We'll discuss how things happen with our career changes, relationships, family dynamics, and everything else that comes with being a woman over 40. This is more than just a podcast. I really want this to be a community for women, cheering each other on. Some of the times we'll laugh, we'll cry, we'll learn, and we'll grow together. So grab your headphones, wherever you are, grab your water bottle, your favorite workout buddy if you're at the gym, and get ready to rewrite the rules of aging. Because let me tell you, the best is yet to come. So now let's dive into this week's episode.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Horizon Podcast. I'm Michelle Hayes, your host. And this week we have another amazing guest that's going to share some wonderful information with us about health, wellness, and how best to bring that part of us out. And, for me, you guys always know that it's all about getting the best of you. It's not what you see on television, it's not what you see on social media, but what health is for you. And if we can get that one point across today, that's one thing we want to get across today. Health means something for everyone. And deep down in your spirit, you know when you feel healthy, what does that feel like to you? It's not a size, it's not it's not like what a certain thing that you have. It's like when you wake up in the morning, you take that first breath, then you know that your health is where you want it to be, and that's where we all are wanting to be. It's not being there one and done, out of just like all or nothing. We all want to be better. I love better. So this week I have an amazing guest, Dr. H, and I'm going to let her introduce herself because she's amazing. We actually literally speak the same language about health and wellness and what we want you to end up in your health and wellness. So, Dr. H, go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know where you're from, what got you here, and your passion.
You got it. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Michelle, for welcoming me to be with you today, you and your community, and for the awesome work you're doing. And yeah, so my name is Dr. H, and I practice data-driven natural medicine, and I marry that with a heart-centered focus, which I know you do too, as well, Michelle. Right, as you were sharing about, what does health mean to you? It was like, oh my gosh, yeah, we really, I mean, just more and more, everything I hear you say, it's like, yes, we speak the same language, right? Because we all have our own unique definition of what it feels like to thrive, what vitality feels like for us. And, we all want to look our best and feel our best, but really all of that gives us access to being our best. And so for me, that's really, at the heart of the work that I do, and what brought me to do this work really was I saw for myself was, when I got clear on my vision of vitality for myself and began my own journey of living aligned with my vision of vitality, um, not only was it transformative for me, but it got me really excited to give this gift to others. So that led me to go to
Right.
graduate school, get a couple of graduate degrees, and fundamentally jump into practicing functional medicine, data driven, heart centered functional medicine. And it's such a pleasure and privilege to do this work.
Yes, it is. And for us, like in this field, and whether it's healthcare, whether it's all about service. And I'm so happy that for many of us who have actually found that passion to serve others, to bring out in others the best version of themselves. I just feel that it never gets old when you see someone that you've helped, and they are thriving and they are feeling confident in themselves, and they are contributing to their environment because they have now a full cup that they can give to others, that they feel so much better. Because I mean, I've been there too. There's nothing worse than you trying to give for others when you yourself feel like you have been totally drained.
Right.
You're totally
Absolutely. It's like
drained.
you've got to put your own oxygen mask on first before you
Yeah.
can help someone else. Right.
Yeah, and yeah, and people say that, but do they understand what it really means? That, like, when you get that feeling of that being the best of you, that oh my gosh, I wake up every morning and I feel good. I've slept well. I've given myself a good start for the day.
Yeah.
Knowing that as you go throughout the day, there are things that's going to definitely deplete you, but you've given yourself the best start for the day. So I'm so happy that you're here. And when we connected, I looked at different things that you talk about. So, but before we jump into the topic today, which guys, we're going to talk about Ozempic today, and we are going to talk about natural forms of Ozempic over synthetic Ozempic. We're going to talk about the differences that there is, and also we're going to all look at ways that you can do that for yourself, and instead of the high cost, because I think that's something that we need to really really delve into. Also, what is really Ozempic for, and who is it for, right? Is it necessarily for everyone? And when we think about it, like, are we willing? Are we willing to put ourselves through some of the things? Because we're going to talk about the side effects and stuff like that. And are you willing to do that? Because I think it sounds great until until. So, talk to me a little bit about what your data-driven practice is all about. Like, I'm interested because I think I think for me, I understand that you must have data to know where you're going, right? You have to have information first. Once you have the information, it's like, what are you going to do with it? So, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to know what your final destination is, and you have to know what you're starting from. right? And so that, you know, I call it, you know, we could say final destination, but, you know, destination, intention. What does health and thriving and vitality look like for you? That is where we're headed. And we need to know where we're starting from. And where we're starting from is based on a variety of things, right? Of course, I want to understand how people are feeling, their energy levels, their libido, their, if their joints are achy, or if they're, you know, having bowel movements twice a week, you know, like whatever's going on. I want to know all those symptoms, but we also want to do the due diligence to understand what's going on at the physiological level, get that data. And that data is labs. So we get that lab work, right? When I partner with someone and I perform a health audit, where we start, as I always say, I arrive with my detective's hat on, right? I want to hear, you know, about where this person is, their health history, what their childhood was like, what their family health history is like, right? All these different things. And I'm listening from what are our missing puzzle pieces. And these missing puzzle pieces, it's the data we're going to gather. It's the labs. So we get the labs and we're able to understand where are our physiological barriers as well as where are physiological opportunities, and use targeted measures, nutrition, supplementation, lifestyle, bring this all together to shift the underlying physiology such that people do have the experience of living their vision of vitality, right? And that takes time. That's the long game. And over the course of that journey, we're going to go back and we're going to check that data again. We're going to look at those labs again because we want to see the progress, right? Of course, I want people feeling better, whether that means their digestive distress is solved, or their energy levels have gone from 2 out of 10 to 10 out of 10, or if it's about weight for them, whatever it is, I want them to get those outcomes, but we want to circle back and check our work with hard data. I always say labs don't lie, right? And so we want to look at those labs to see this shift over time. And also that's going to dictate, that's going to inform our next steps ahead, right? Because when people walk in my virtual front door, wherever they are, but in our journey, they're going to progress. And so what was once appropriate is going to shift as their body shifts.
Right. And that's so important, because I sometimes think that we get really overwhelmed with all the noise out there about, oh, track this, do that, do this. But if you have it in such a way where it's very individualized to the person, where you take their full, like one thing that I do is I take a full history of, like, what are some of the foods that you eat on a regular basis? Like people truly believe that they have a very wide variety of foods that they eat. But when they look at it on paper, they realize that day in, day out, they kind of stick to the same thing. So if what you're doing right now is not getting to you where you want to go, then obviously that's something that we need to shift, right? So I'm so happy that you explained that, because I think sometimes when we ask these questions and we want to dive a little deeper, all people want to do is just tell me what to do, eat, and just tell me what exercise to do, and I'll do it. And that's it. And not understanding it's been the same thing that you've been doing all along, right? You haven't changed that habit. You haven't changed that behavior. And I understand where you're coming from, because with the information you have, and when you sit down with someone, as you say, your virtual front door, when they come in and they sit at your virtual desk, and you're like, well, this is the data that we have in front of us right now, and this is where you want to go. So we need to obviously change some things. There are some behaviors, there may be some habits, there may be some things that needs to shift. Whether it's like I work out once every 2 weeks. Why is my belly fat not going down, or whatever it is that they want to accomplish, right? So you need to like talk to them. So I'm glad that we're starting off there, because without data, without some information, without knowing where you're starting, we can't know where we're going. So great.
That's right. Absolutely.
And I like that you take everything into consideration, that holistic thing. Like, we underestimate where we are today on the influences that we've had from our childhood, the influences we have from our teenage years, the influences that we've had in our workplace. And when we understand that everything about who we are stem from every experience that we've had, it's just like, okay, what worked and what didn't work? Who am I associating that's not really helping me, that's really hindering my journey? Like, how can I change that environment? And oh my gosh, when that opens up for people, I don't know, do you see like their eyes open and they're like, oh yeah, right, this makes
Yes.
so much sense.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I love the way you're speaking to that, Michelle, like um, getting curious, right? Like what works, what doesn't work, right? As opposed to what's more common is people pick
Mm,
up like they start beating themselves up, right? They start saying,
mhm.
I was so bad, and that's just
Yeah,
not
yeah,
typically a good route for progress, right? I was so
right.
bad, or shame on me, or any of those variations are not typically
Mhm.
productive conversations. But what worked, what didn't work, those are really productive conversations
Yeah,
if we
yeah.
take actions on our answers.
Yeah, if we take actions on the answers, and we've all been there. Look, we're not
Yes,
perfect. We've all been there where
right.
we actually have the data in front of us, we have the information in front of us, and then we're like, nothing's working. But understanding that you strayed way off from what was working in the first place. So it's like your
Yes,
job. If you know that there's a certain thing that you do that gives you results, and then all of a sudden you stop doing it, you stop getting results, you yourself, if you own your own business, or if you're working for someone as management, they're gonna come to you and like, what's going on? Like, right? What's happening?
yes,
We're not making the progress that we were making. So this is pretty much what data is gonna give you when it comes to your health. And what this type of data is like, it's really a deep dive, like doing your labs, doing your family history, having that information in front of you. It's going to make it so individual, and make it so much about you and not about the millions of people that you see on Instagram and other person at your job or whatever it is. So I'm so appreciative of you doing that, because it's so much in line with what I try to do with my clients as well, just to get them to the fact that they are very individual, and what I do is tailored to them. So
yes. That's awesome.
thank
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much. So, so today we want to talk about, as I said, I looked at the various things that you deal with, and what I was really interested in is your idea of a natural Ozempic as opposed to synthetic
Mm-hmm.
Ozempic, right? And how we can get more natural GLP-1 antagonist in our system, which is Ozempic, which is pretty much what it does. So, explain to us a little bit, what is actually Ozempic and what does it do?
Yeah, well, Ozempic works in a few different manners, and some of them we're more confident on than others, right? Like how exactly is it working its magic? But when we start to think about Ozempic and how it works, the place I like to start with is how it produces its impact on satiety. So yes, there's some impact that's happening at the brain level, but there's also some impact that's happening simply within our digestive tract, right? It slows gastric emptying, which means that the food that enters our stomach stays in our stomach for longer. And
Mm,
when food stays in our stomach for longer, we actually have receptors in our stomach that senses the stretch of our stomach. So food's in there and it stays in there. And so that stretch occurs and actually is sustained for longer. And that stretch sends a message to our brain that we've been fed, that we don't
mm,
need more food. So it's creating this satiety impact. And, just starting with that mechanism, right, that's going to be a really powerful place to start in looking at, okay, well, how could I mimic that, right? How could
right.
I slow gastric emptying? How could I stretch my stomach such that my brain receives the message that I've been fed, right? And so I think the punchline of that, Michelle, right? Of just that quandary in particular. We've got an amazing tool for doing that. It's called fiber. right? It's
Right,
called
right.
fiber-rich foods. Fiber is one of the ways we can look at, okay, how is Ozempic working, and mimic that in our diet. So bringing in high fiber food, fiber stretches our stomach. It also slows gastric emptying, among other things. So it is going to produce this sense of satiety that is useful. And of course, not just that, but the fiber is going to do a lot of other really good things for our body. Right.
Right.
So as opposed to this one thing called like, okay, my stomach is stretched and I'm not hungry given by this GLP-1, right? We can start to look at, okay, what might I get from fiber that I can't get from Ozempic? Well, I get a microbiome that thrives, right? Our microbiome, which is mostly bacteria, but not all bacteria, that live mostly in our colon, but not all in our colon. So those bacteria do all kinds of good things for us, ranging from supporting our immune system to supporting our mental health and well-being to supporting our metabolism. So, when we bring fiber into our diet, we're actually fertilizing the good bacteria that we,
Right.
that provide benefits to us. And then beyond that, we think about, prevention of diabetes. A high fiber diet is definitely going to keep our blood sugar levels stable. That's another way for preventing, excessive hunger, is keeping our blood sugar levels stable, and fiber is going to help with that. It also is going to bind to cholesterol. Fiber binds to cholesterol, or the things that get turned into cholesterol, and carries it out of our body in our bowel movements. So we think about, okay, now we have something that has spiral up benefits. We can take this fiber, and it's not just going to lead to satiety. It's going to lead to so many other benefits. And then we can look at like, okay, well, how much fiber should I be looking at here? Well, 30 to 40 grams a day is a great place to target, and getting a mixture of soluble and insoluble. Again, that natural that fiber is a great point of leverage there.
Awesome. And so as we talk about this, because I'm glad you mentioned it, because when we look at Ozempic, like that part of it and what it actually does, as you said, it slows our gut, right? So we understand now that that's the way that, obviously, because you feel fuller for longer, you tend not to eat as much food throughout the day. So my thing is, as opposed to fiber, so fiber, obviously from natural sources, as you said, from soluble, insoluble fiber, those are natural sources. So we are now giving our body something that it is used to, that it doesn't have to break down in a certain way, and it doesn't have to dissolve in a certain area of the body, because it's in our gut biome, and it's the nutrients that we get from that fiber is going throughout our bodies. So when someone is saying to themselves, okay, well, I'm going to try this Ozempic anyway because I want to jumpstart my weight loss, say. So what are some of the potential side effects, as opposed to having like some natural fiber? What are some of the side effects of that they may or may not experience?
Yeah. Well, with Ozempic, their side effects can range from nausea to constipation to diarrhea, to losing really, okay, so people don't have cravings for food, but I've also encountered people who decided to get off Ozempic because they basically lost all cravings, all pleasure from everything, whether it's food or sex or knitting or, like really reading, right? They just kind of went quite like life was just, exactly. There are some things that are, kind of here and there sort of side effects. So in other words, things that might not be reported as much. I do know there are some cases of, like uncontrolled vomiting. Of course, that's less common, but it does happen. There's also the risk of, if someone has surgery, and obviously there's, surgeries people have that are planned, but then, surgeries happen that are unplanned. And if someone's on Ozempic, that can really present a challenge for anesthesiologists because their stomach's not empty. right? So if they
Right.
haven't taken the and they're still kind of trying to figure out like, okay, how far before a surgery do they need to stop their Ozempic so that gastric emptying occurs as we would expect, stuff like
Right.
that. So that's kind of higher up challenges. Some of the other things are, there's some concern about an increased risk of thyroid cancer. And then to me, Michelle, like the big thing is unknowable unknowns, right? There are unknowable unknowns. We will find out in 10 years, what other side effects come up, what other things that we are concerning are showing up. We just don't know yet. We haven't had enough, we have tons of people starting these medications, and we're going to learn. We're just going to learn.
We're going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the thing, and we're not trying to say, okay, for somebody who has got uncontrolled diabetes that is, have a multitude of illnesses, multitude of metabolic syndromes that is affecting their life, and maybe your doctor may recommend Ozempic. We're not saying that this is something that you should say, okay, absolutely no to. I'm just going to eat more fiber. You understand that if you have hypertension and your doctor tells you that there's natural ways you can lower blood pressure, but if your blood pressure is high right now and you need medication, take the medication, right?
Yes,
if you
absolutely.
have uncontrollable blood sugar right now and your doctor says, you know what, I'm going to put you on insulin and I'm going to have you take this Ozempic for a little bit because I really want to get your blood sugar under control. We are recommending that you will go and recommend and take what your doctor is recommending you to take. But what we're talking about right now is for those of us who are wanting to take Ozempic because we may look at it as the easy option, right?
Yes.
The easy option to weight loss, the easy option to not eating, the easy option to tackling maybe some emotional eating, the easy option to stop overeating and stuff like that. We want you to understand that this is probably something that may not work in the long term. And at the end of the day, I think that is what most people want, right? I mean, I don't think there's people that maybe some weird people out there that maybe want a temporary fix and just don't want long-term wellness. But I don't see anybody walking up to you or I and saying like, you know what, I just really want this for like a month and then I just don't care about the rest of my life. So I think that people really want a long-term solution to a problem that is widespread. So when we're talking about this natural Ozempic, and we talk, one of them is fiber, obviously taking in enough fiber. Is there any other ways that we can actually, jumpstart that satiety factor, which is actually really what we want to get to by eating regular food?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the other thing that I point to is its impact on our insulin and therefore its impact on our blood sugar, right? Ozempic. Right. And so when I think about how can we improve our insulin sensitivity, how can we keep our blood sugar levels stable? Because that's fundamentally what we're talking about there is, eating for blood sugar stability is a combination of things. It's what you're doing, your yeses to keep your blood sugar levels keep a nice and steady eddy. And then what you're doing less of. So yes and less. And collectively, that's going to keep your blood sugar level stable. So these are simple things like one place I often start with the people who I work with is with breakfast. First thing being like, actually eat it. Like, eat breakfast.
Actually eat it.
Yes. And even, do it in a way that has you feel like you're setting aside time to care for yourself rather than one hand on the wheel, the other, like swallowing food whole kind of a situation, which we've all been in. Like, there's no judgment there. But can you create a new habit where more often than not, you're actually making time to have breakfast, right? So, and having your breakfast be something that will keep your blood sugar level stable. So this is going to be something that's protein fat centric. It doesn't mean no carbs. It just means being selective in the carbohydrates, the quality and the quantity of the carbohydrates you bring into your breakfast. I like to think about if we start to get more granular, having a breakfast that has at least 20 grams of protein, having a breakfast that has at least 10 grams of heart healthy fats, having a breakfast that if we're having fruit, that is a carbohydrate, right? We want to cap the sugar at 9 grams. This includes your fruit. So that takes a little bit of poking around going, how many grams of sugar is in a banana, right? That kind of stuff, right? And that's just
Right.
kind of a guideline. Don't get overwhelmed by being perfect, but just kind of starting there with, okay, roughly 20 grams of protein, at least 10 grams of heart healthy fats, keeping that sugar quantity at a minimum and having it come from fruit if you are doing it. Those are just some simple examples of how you might start your day by keeping your blood sugar level stable. And then over time, right, you want to take that on to other periods throughout your day, your
Right.
lunch, your dinner, your snacks, all those different things. But it's a great place to start. So there's so much we can do to support our insulin sensitivity. I also think about consuming omega-3 rich fish, right? Omega-3 rich fish, those anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids are going to help our insulin sensitivity, right? How hormones work
Yes.
is it's like a ball and a mitt. We need to produce the hormone and we need to receive the message of the hormone. And
Right.
so those omega-3 fatty acids make for a really sticky mitt. They really catch the hormone well. And in this case, we're talking about insulin, but we could also talk about satiety hormones in the same manner, right? So the impact of those omega-3s that, are plentiful. And yes, you can go the supplement route, but you can do this. You can do this with food. You don't have to go the supplement route.
Right. I mean, and at the end of the day, this is what we're talking about. We really want to, I firmly believe, 100% believe that supplementation, like I take some supplementation,
Yep.
we all take some supplementation. I take B12 and, I do that stuff like that. So the thing is about getting most of it from food. And if we're focused on the supplements, if we're focused on giving the best for our bodies, remember that when you look at the foods that you eat, you're going to be looking at the best that you can do right now. We're not telling you to go and throw out all of your food from your refrigerator and your cupboards and stuff like that, but be selective in what you eat. And as you said, when you put that fruit in there and you do like berries and stuff like that, it's also giving you that fiber that Dr. H was talking about. So it's like, I really love these strawberries right now. It's summer, we got lovely strawberries, but you just think about the other things that you're getting, right? You're getting your vitamin C, you're getting your riboflavonoids, you're getting your fiber, you're getting, all of these things that's like your body is like, yes, baby, give it to me. I want it. Right? And this
So
is why you
well
feel good.
said. I love it.
This is why you feel good when you
You
eat
could even
good
play the
because
song while you're eating it, right?
yeah, yeah. When you feel, yeah, give it to me, you because you feel good when you eat good. And I don't know about you, but when you start off your day, as Dr. H says, with a breakfast like that, you start off your day with some eggs. You start off your day with a little bit of whatever it is that is really good, and you feel good. A little piece of avocado and stuff like. You start your day off like that. The tendency, in my opinion, is for you want to continue your day like that, right? I mean, one of the things,
Absolutely. Right.
right?
Spiral up. You're voting for
Yeah,
yourself out of the gate. You vote for yourself once and you're like, oh my gosh, this feels so good. I want to keep
I
voting for
can do
myself.
this. I can do this.
Yes.
So one of the things you talked about, and I talk about this a lot because I talk about emotional eating and I talk about distracted eating because it's something that in today's society it is so prevalent and so relevant because we no longer sit down. A lot of people no longer even sit down as a family to have dinner, right? And everybody's in front of the television, distracted eating, and before you know it, you have not tasted anything that you've eaten. So your satiety is never it will never be there because if you haven't tasted the food that you're eating, if you haven't paid attention to what you put in your mouth, this is where you're like, after you eat a whole plate of food and you're like, but I'm still hungry. It's because you haven't taken the time to let your body understand that it's eating, this is eating time and I'm going to take the time to savor my food and I'm going to make it feel good. I'm going to create that environment where I am just focused on eating because as I said, as Dr. A says, we've all done it. We've all had to run to the car, maybe we wake up late and stuff like that. But it must be an exception as to the rule. And even at work, even at work when you like, okay, maybe I'm running late. Like, okay, guys, I work as a labor and delivery nurse, and it's summer and the babies are coming. I don't know where they're coming from, but they're coming. Okay. Every time you turn around, there's another pregnant belly somewhere. So there are times when we're like, oh my God, we will not be able to eat. One thing I really strive to do is I leave my unit and I go outside and I sit and I eat. I give myself that 10, 15 minutes, right? Because I don't want to just be coughing and then 5 minutes later somebody comes up with maybe a cake. And because I haven't eaten since breakfast, I've eaten half of the cake. Oh, that's a lie. But this is why we talk about starting your day right and sitting, as the Dr. A said, sitting and eating instead of always on the run. So as we understand that about ourselves, is understanding also our emotions and how that come into play. So mentioned earlier about the fact that people sometimes when people take Ozempic, they'll actually lose interest in life itself. And I have actually heard that. Well, I had never knew that something like that can happen. I thought it would just affect our appetites and stuff like that, not realizing that it really has an impact on our whole lives and how we interact. Because one of the things that we talk about when you are not feeling good, when you are throwing up, when you have stomach aches, when you have diarrhea, when you have all of that stuff, how does it make your body feel?
Mm.
Right? You feel listless. You're not interested in doing anything. You want to lay on the chair. So again, I want in that respect, when I talk about producing that insulin, that getting rid of that insulin resistance, one thing that I know for sure is even doing things like going for walks and stuff like that would actually help us with insulin resistance and help with that feeling of wellness. So how would then, if you start getting this from natural sources, how does then that affects your well-being? So what is the cascade that happens? Have you
Right.
seen that cascade that happens,
Oh
Marissa?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When people, channel their energy towards, playing a spiral up game and supporting insulin sensitivity through, just like you pointed to, a 10-minute walk after eating, or maybe they're bringing in strength training into their day, which overall has a positive impact on insulin sensitivity. And so, yeah, there's, just real huge benefits in the way people feel. And then, of course, the number on the scale and their lab numbers. And, it makes a huge difference. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I would
Yeah,
also
so
jump in and add, like you mentioned supplements, right? And also I will just chime in and double down on what Michelle shared. We definitely want you to listen to your doctors, right? And if you have any questions about your prescription or their recommendations, have that conversation with them, because they know your health, they know your body. But I would also, from natural ways we can support your insulin sensitivity, insulin production, your fasting glucose, all these different metrics. I think about berberine as a great natural GLP-1 agonist. Using that can really make a difference on some of the lab values we see over time. So can using certain probiotics, right? There's this new kid on the block, Akkermansia, that has some real positive benefits as it pertains to cholesterol and therefore heart health, as it pertains to fasting glucose, fasting insulin, hemoglobin A1C, all things related to diabetes, right? So these are just some examples of, supplements that someone might bring in to further support their physiology. But again, they'd want to be working with someone who knows their body, knows their numbers, and can appropriately guide them. These are not the right solution for everyone.
Right. And that's the thing. Everyone, we're so individual, and it's not about the cookie cutter, um, this work for Betty, so it will work for John as well. Like John got a totally different set of rules and lifestyle that he lives. And so we need to understand that what we want you to know is that individualization is something that we both hold near and dear. And sometimes, yes, in a group, in a setting, you maybe even doing the same thing as somebody else, but it's in more tailored to you. That ratios can be very different for you as opposed to someone else. So I really am excited about this way that this natural substances and the natural things. So so we talk about fiber, we talk about protein, we talk about natural omega-3. So one of the things that I don't know if you encounter this a lot, where you talk about tell people about having getting natural omega-3s from fish. You know, the first thing is that oh my God, I don't like fish. Fish smells.
Right.
It's like, yeah, fish smells because it's actually fresh food. So yes, it has a fresh, fresh smell. If you
Yes.
ever go and you get a piece of salmon and it has no smell, I would like leave it because it's supposed to have a smell. Okay,
Yes. Yeah,
maybe synthetic
absolutely.
salmon. So
But you know
everything
what's
that you do.
fun is like one of the things that I love, and I'm sure you've had this experience too, Michelle, is like working with that person, right? Meeting where they are,
Mm,
get them going, right? And then giving them like, I've turned a few people who just really never thought there would be a day where they
mhm.
would eat salmon, let alone cook it at home and enjoy
Right,
it.
right, right.
And they're there, right? So and also, you know, people like you were saying, like people just need to start where they are. If, you know,
Mm.
eating omega-3s sounds like, you know, as far-fetched as walking to Mars, then don't start there, right? Start somewhere else.
That's
Start, you
somewhere
know,
else.
start with the fiber, right?
Right. Yeah. Start with the water. Let's start
Yes.
there. A lot of times,
Yes.
that's why I tell people start with the water. I just want you to drink more than 60 pounds of the water for the day. And then we'll go to
Yeah.
somewhere else. It's all about building on habits. And this is one of the things that I really harper on is the fact that we need to bridge that gap between habits
Yes.
and behaviors, right? Because if you don't deal with the habit, and we try to just come in and have you form a new habit. But if you are if you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to start this new habit of drinking water, and you stop that habit, believe me, you're going to fall back to the old habit because in this world
Mm-hmm.
and in our lives, um, our we hate vacuum, right? Life hates a vacuum. And if you leave a vacuum there, it's going to be filled with something. It's either going to be filled with the old habit or you're going to fill with something worse, or unless you continue to fill it with the same. So that's why it's essential that you wake up every morning and you do the things. You do the one habit. You continue to build on that one habit until it changes your behavior. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so when I say that, I'm talking about the people who want everything fast. They want the quick fixes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I just want to touch on quick fixes and let people know that quick fixes. Um, this is not Amazon, Instacart. Your body is not that. Your body is not uh, what's the word? Is it 8G now or 5G, 5G internet access? It
Right.
takes time. It took you time to get where you are. And now you're at that point where you're like, I want to change. It's going to take time to initiate that change. So apart from, I really want to touch on this really well because are there products out there now with like everything that is claiming to be an Ozempic? There are some falsely claiming things to be like natural Ozempic. So what we're talking about here is things that you can go to your grocery store today and get. So I
Mm-hmm.
have you seen where other people are mimicking this the weight loss, especially I mean the weight loss industry is just crazy, right? But they are saying that their products is this pill is gonna help support and this pill is gonna fix. I'll be honest, like way back in my weight loss journey, I fell for that too. So when people are falling for that and they come to you and they're like, "What are you talking about? It's natural Ozempic. I tried everything." How do you tackle that question?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, we want to start with their numbers we want to look at where their numbers are so that we can understand where their physiology is. So when I say numbers, I mean their lab numbers and their weight and, their BMI. I also, when possible, like to do in-body body composition assessment when possible. It's not always possible because we can't always get our hands on one of those guys, but fundamentally, when we look at those numbers and see, for example, is insulin sensitivity a problem for them or not? Maybe it's not a problem. And, is inflammation a problem or not? So we're going to take actions that support the underlying physiology. And, they're absolutely berberine when dosed appropriately. And that's going to vary per person. Could be 500 milligrams a day for one, 500 milligrams 3 times a day for someone else. When dosed appropriately, it definitely can make a difference. But it's not going to be the only thing we do. I will never just use a supplement. And if someone is looking to just use a supplement, they're not working with me. Right?
They're not working with us. Because we're about the holistic side. Like as Dr. H said from the very beginning. Holistic. She deals with the whole person, which we're dealing with a whole person. So we're not just looking at a one thing for you. We want you to know that you come with many parts, and we want to talk to each of those parts, and we talk about ideas and mindset shifts and stuff like that, but understanding that for you and for me, like Dr. H may talk to me about one thing and I might be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, but she has to say the same thing maybe to you a different way, because we are very, very individual. So being individual is something, and I know we talk about that a lot, but being the individual, I think is just so important for us. So when we talk about um, what advice would you give someone who's considering using Ozempic or a natural alternative? What's some of the best advice that you could give them right now?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say do your due diligence, right? Learn about, as you were pointing to, Michelle, is your interest in Ozempic because metabolically speaking, right, you're at risk, right? Your diabetes is uncontrolled, and you are like BMI wise, you're over 30, which puts you in the obese category, right? If all of these things are coming together and you just can't see another way forward, then have that conversation with your prescribing physician and think about the pros and the cons, and it could be everything in life has its pros and cons. So you have to figure out for yourself, based on what you know, do you believe it's thinking in bets. We're thinking in bets. Are you betting that taking Ozempic will produce more good than harm? Or, based on what you know about your body and where your health is there reason to have concern for the other side? So it's really got to be on an individualized basis, and having those conversations with your physician, doing your due diligence to see if it is the right choice for you. As you said earlier, Michelle, there are definitely people who are benefiting from being on Ozempic, should be on Ozempic, but also there, like if we could just structure our country differently so that, our fast food was like fast, really nutrient dense food, we wouldn't be dealing with this problem. If we look at, images of our country from the 1950s, right? If you see any clip of whether it's a president or an astronaut in the 60s or, like whatever the case may be, if you look at a clip of what America looked like then, it looked very different. People were not struggling with their weight and their health the way they are now. And there's a lot more I could say about it, but it really, it hurts my heart that that's our country has a food system and has created things that really drive addiction, food addiction, and it doesn't have to be that way, right? We can absolutely thrive financially and thrive in health, but that's just not how it is right now.
Yeah, and for being the country that most of the world looks like, right? I mean, after I have lived in London, I have lived in Saudi Arabia, I've lived in different places. And, unfortunately, one of the things that people always like, even now when I go to Europe and I go anywhere, like the question people always want to know is like, is that really the size of your food? Is that really like,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, these
Yeah.
are the questions that you get asked, and you're like, well, yeah, that's the size. I don't eat it. But, like, the
Well,
size.
to your point, I actually work remotely from Switzerland right now. So a few things about that. One is people don't look like they do in the US here, right? And there are a lot of different reasons for that. One is the whole country is a hiking trail, right?
Right.
There, wherever you are standing in Switzerland, there is, you can hike there, you can hike at just about anywhere else, right? And so that's one thing. Another thing is they actually do prioritize time to sit down and eat. There are a lot of companies that will shops that close down for an hour and a half so their employees can go eat in the middle of the day, right? And like you were saying, portion sizes are totally different. It's so funny, right? The town we live in, Lucerne, there's no place. I mean, there are a few places I could buy an okay salad, but there's no like sweet greens or, like protein bar or whatever, like there's no amazing salad place here, but people are they still look a lot healthier.
Right, because what they do is that then they'll go to the butchers, or they go to the fruit stand
Yeah.
and they buy their salad and they make a salad, right? Everything is
Yeah.
like cut up and stuff like that. And this is one of the things that, we get so much convenience, I think, here in the United States, that convenience has now caused us a lot of problems, right?
So well said.
Convenience
Yes.
has caused so much problems. We thought that by having people have more access to low fat and reduce fat and reduce sugar and stuff like that, that will solve the problem. Instead, it's just made it worse, because now we've replaced it with chemicals that you don't know how to pronounce. I don't know how to pronounce. Even the people who probably making the stuff don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And we're telling us that it's good for us. So I'm so glad that we had this conversation. And thank you so much for coming on and just like really touching a little bit on some of the natural ways that we can actually boost our health through insulin, to help insulin resistance, help with food satiety, and just doing things, simple things like a 10-minute walk after dinner and stuff like that. So as we talk about that, I want from you, there's three things that people can do today to just help boost their health. And maybe if they're like, think I was considering Ozempic, well, they say if you do these three things, may not need Ozempic. But like, I don't think, as I said, unless you are actually medically indicated for it, um my thing is that it should be something that it should not even be on your list, all because by us taking Ozempic that don't need it, it's also creating a shortage for the people that's actually really needing it, and
Yeah.
it's jacking up the prices, and it's causing more problems than anything else. And people are going and getting it off black market. They're going to other countries, they're bringing it in, and to me now it has become a money making scam.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes, I agree with everything you said. And, three things. The first thing is I invite you, your listeners, right? I invite each and every one of you to actually sit down with pen and paper and do a little exercise of time traveling. And so I'd like you to time travel to the 5-year future. So right now I'm 47, that would put me at 52, right? So I'd like you to time travel to your 5-year future. And I'd like you to tell the story of what it is to be you 5 years from now with your health and vitality as you intend, as you desire. So, that might look something like I'm 52 and my body is strong and resilient and beautiful. I move about the world with ease and confidence, right? So, whatever it is for you, right? Tell that story, that 5-year future story of what it is to be you thriving. Because we want to get really clear, as Michelle kicked off this conversation with, about what is your vision of vitality for your health in your life. So you're going to start there. And I do invite you to do that with pen and paper because it really works the brain in a meaningful way. Okay. Yes. So that's number one. Number two is I invite you today to begin practicing a conversation called, what is my best choice right now? What is my best choice right now? You could also say, what is my best game right now? Whatever feels more natural to you. But just start playing that game. And how that might show up for you is you might have pizza and you might in the moment go, 2 pieces in a salad is my best game. And by the way, yesterday I would have had 6 pieces, right? So looking at what is your best game right now? It might be something like 1 glass of wine instead of 3, right? You will have your own unique things to deal with in your own health journey. And that's perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. And then number 3 is begin creating a bookend to your day, a bookend. So a bookend can occur at the beginning or the end of the day. Actually, ideally, it's 2 bookends, but for you, wherever you are, start with 1 bookend. And that bookend, in the morning would be getting connected to your vision of vitality. That means that exercise you did in number 1, read it tomorrow morning and then read it the next day. And then read it the next day. We want you to start flexing the brain muscles that has you start to pull that future towards yourself. Now, it does require action. It doesn't magically happen. This is not magical thinking, but it starts by really getting clear and starting to cultivate that pool that I got to make that happen. What's my best game? What's my best game? Right? So
what's my best game?
Yes, over and over again. So that is my invitation to each and every one of you.
Yeah, that is awesome. I love it. And this in everything you do in life. I believe in everything you do. This is how you get there, right? If you can't see the vision of health, you can't feel the vision of health. It's not something that you will achieve. I mean, if you read the Bible, you will know the verse that says, write the vision, make it plain, so that anybody that can take it and can run with it. So this is where you want to be. Because if you have the vision, you made it plain, and you say to your spouse, hey, this is where I want to be in 5 years, your spouse will be able to say, you know what? I see your vision. I'm going to run with you. We're going to make it happen. Your friend is going to see it. They're going to run with you. They're going to make it happen. Right? But obviously you have to see it and you have to make it happen. It's all starts with you. Nobody else can take you there. So Dr. H, how can we connect with you? How can we find out more about you? Where can we go to do that?
Yeah, thank you so much. So you can find me at wellempowered.com, and on wellempowered.com, you can schedule a complimentary consultation to explore doing a health audit together. You also will have access to lots of free resources there. And if you do schedule a complimentary complimentary consultation, and you decide that, working together feels like the right thing for you, please be sure you let me know Michelle sent you, because you will be gifted with 10% off. And you can also find me on Instagram at Well Empowered.
Awesome. So, Dr. H, it was so nice to have you on the show. Guys, I really would like for you to leave a comment about the show. Let Dr. H know, this information that she gives is golden. You got some real gems here to follow. I hope that if you've listened to this through the end, go and listen to it again with a pen and paper so that you can write all the stuff down that jumps out to you, because that's what we want for you. We want you to take from what is nourishing to your soul. Share it with someone that you know need to hear this. Leave a comment, and we will really appreciate it. Your information, so that the more we can share more information that is of value to you. So have a wonderful week, and thank you again for listening to the Rise podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Hayes, and we have Dr. H. Say bye. We'll talk to you again another time. Take care, guys. Bye.